are in fact at a vital point with 5 more races remaining, 2 of which are also on road courses. Last week's race, as you'll know, a scheduled nighttime race from Nashville, was rained out and finally ran the following day, but unfortunately there wasn't space in our schedule this time to fit that in, but we will bring you highlights of that race very soon. Well, Scott Dixon meanwhile has won the last 2 IndyCar races. Can he now make it a hat-trick? To discuss that and today's upcoming race, I'm joined by our US racing expert Christopher Tate, plus a driver who's missing out on racing at Mid-Ohio this year for the first time in 5 years, Johnny Molam. But before we hear from the boys, let's take a look at the headlines first of all. Helio Castroneves from Team Penske has grabbed pole position for today's race, but Danica Patrick qualified brilliantly in second as Andretti Green drivers filled the next 4 spots. The 2 main championship contenders, Franchitti and Dixon, fill row 3, and Hunter Ray takes over the ethanol car from Jeff Simmons. But first of all, let's just tidy up that result for you of last week's race on the oval at Nashville. Just quickly looking at the finishing positions. As we said, Scott Dixon ran it after rain interfered on the Sunday. It was run on the Monday. Dixon it was who won ahead of Dario Franchitti. Danica Patrick, good race for her again, finishing 3rd ahead of Sam Hornish Jr., Marco Andretti and Helio Castroneves, who's on pole this time, completing the top 6. So that was last week. This, of course, another week and another race in this very hectic schedule. It has to be said that Dixon is really making a run for the championship. So, Christopher, what are Dario's strategies going to be? Because he knows the track well. He holds the lap record there.
Yes, he does, from his Champ Car days back 7-8 years ago now. And Dario really likes this course, and he's always been quick on road courses, as we know. So he's leading the championship. He's got a nice, healthy lead. And 5 races on the bounce comes to an end this weekend. Then they get a bit of a pause. But he's going into the last half of the season looking really strong. I mean, it's a really exciting time for Franchitti.
OK, Johnny, it's good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. We're delighted you're with us. But why aren't you racing out there? You must know this track so well.
Yes, I've raced there I think about 8 or 9 times. It's the first race I actually won in America, was at Mid-Ohio. So it's
happy memories.
Yeah, happy memories. But I'm not doing the full American Le Mans series this year, so I missed out on this race. But I do love it. It's one of the great road courses in America.
It's a real challenging track by all accounts.
It is, and there's a lot of blind corners. You come over blind crest. The marshals have to be really on their toes to make sure they let people know if there's a car spun off, because the drivers are completely blind coming into a lot of the corners. Let
me just ask you about what we've heard so far, because Danica Patrick has to be the talking point. I mean, front row, Christopher, this is extraordinary. 3rd last week, front row this time. I mean, she's going very well.
Yeah, I mean, she really is. And, you know, the cynics have always said that she's got near the front of the grid on the ovals because she's light, and she is light, she's tiny. Yeah. But here we are on a road course. This is a proper driver's course, as Johnny's just been saying. And front row of the grid's front row of the grid. I think everyone's really impressed, and certainly the pit lane is abuzz.
Johnny, I think in the past you've maybe been quite quick to say you felt she maybe had overhype. I mean, it wasn't her fault necessarily, but the fact was she had a lot of publicity. Maybe wasn't quite that good, but now maybe you're saying that she's got something.
I don't care if it's a man or a woman driving. I think that their results should glean them the publicity that they're getting. And I just said, I think at one point on the record, that she was getting a little bit more publicity than maybe her results deserve. But in this case, I take my hat off to her to out-qualify all her very illustrious teammates, especially people like Dario. Very good on road courses. So in my opinion, this is the best result she's ever had to date in terms of showing sheer talent and speed.
And 3rd last week, 2nd this week. You just wonder, can she cope with the pressure? This is obviously, I mean, overused word, but there is pressure. Front row of the grid. First corner should be interesting.
I think she can cope with the pressure without any problem. She's obviously very self-confident, got a lot of self-belief. She's been around quite a while now, so she's readily equipped to cope with it. So who's not to say this could be her first win?
Who knows, indeed. You're not actually going to tip her then?
I'm going to go for Helio, but my head says Helio, but maybe my heart says Danica.
It wouldn't surprise you too much were she to do it. Christopher, how do you see this race panning out?
Well, it's going to be quite a tactical race, and Andretti Green with 4 cars are really in a position to put the pressure on Helio. And Penske, of course, Sam Hornish, not always so quick on a road course. He's back on row 1, 2, 3, 4 with Darren Manning, in fact, which is great to see Darren up that far. So you would expect the Andretti Green team to really be in a position to squeeze the Penskes along. And I think it's worth saying you've got to go for Dario.
OK, well, I'll tell you what, we'll break off now, because we should say that this weekend at Mid-Ohio also featured the latest round of the American Le Mans Series held yesterday and saw another victory for Porsche over the diesel Audi. Let's check out those results right now. Another tremendous 1-2 victory for the LMP2 Porsche Spiders of Timo Bernard and Romain Dumas ahead of their teammates Sasha Marston and Ryan Briscoe. The cars, of course, run by Penske, so they could be looking at a very big weekend of success. The Audi R10 diesels of Emmanuel Pirro and Marco Werner and Dindo Capello and Alan McNeil Gutnish were 3rd and 5th, sandwiching the best Honda prototype of Luis Diaz and Adrian Fernandez. The 2 Dyson Porsches of Butch Leitzinger and Britain's Andy Wallace, and Chris Dyson and another Briton, Guy Smith, were 6th and 7th, and Dario Franchitti's brother Marino there in a disappointing 10th place for Honda Acura, and 11th was the Corvette of another Brit, Oliver Gavin, and Olivier Beretta, winners of the GT1 class. Well, we want to maybe discuss that a little bit later on, Johnny. Obviously more detail maybe on that, but let's just discuss this circuit in rather more detail. Mid-Ohio, how do you see this going this particular time at this stage of the season, the cars, bearing in mind what's happening on the track? How do you see the circuit suiting the event?
I think there's no doubt. I mean, there's a big sort of support from the local people in this community in terms of they love their motorsport, they love Mid-Ohio.
Indications of a good crowd today.
Oh, absolutely. There are always great crowds at Mid-Ohio. You've had the American Le Mans Series race on the Saturday, you always get a great crowd for that, and so I think it's just spilled on into the Sunday as well. And they resurfaced the track for the first time last year and made it even quicker, especially through turn 1. They took a lot of the bumps away. Slight difficulty perhaps in getting the tyres to come up to temperature and really get them to work in the first 2 or 3 laps because of that resurfacing, but more rubber would have gone down in the time, so I think it's going to be a great race. Is
this how they tend to do it there, Christopher? So you get the race like today on the Sunday, but very good quality racing on the Saturday too?
Well, this is one of the few times this year that the American Le Mans Series, the sports car prototype series, has run the same weekend as the IRL.
But it's great for the punters.
But it's terrific.
It's a motorsport weekend.
I mean, 2 proper big international series running on consecutive days has got to be great. And of course, the thing about the IRL on this sort of course is it really is a fundamentally different engineering challenge for the teams as well as for the drivers. If you look at the cars, as we will see them shortly, they've all got massive road course wings on them, completely different aero look, completely different rear wings, and just the cars look completely different. But just to tell the viewers, they're the same car, they're the same chassis with the little Dallara pointy nose that you run on the oval, but just without all that oval kit on them. And so it's a slight step into the unknown for all the teams each time when they hit a road course which, as Johnny's been saying, has got all this elevation change, these fast blind sweepers. You want your race car to handle very differently, and this is where experience plays. So with Penske and Andretti Green's engineers, that's where you see some proper road course engineering skills come to play.
I'm sure. I'm looking forward to seeing the track. It should be terrific stuff. I've not actually seen this so far, Johnny, but is it going to be fast, spectacular stuff, or are there no long straights, for example?
It's got quite a long back straight. It's funny, it's got a very short actual pit straight followed by quite a fast turn 1, then there's a little sort of shoot up to what they call the keyhole, the hairpin, and then you come back down quite a long back straight. Quite often they start the races, they'll do restarts there, but it's not like Road America, it's not like absolutely flat out fast, but there's some pretty fast corners on it, and it's a very interesting, very technical track.
Things starting to happen in America. We're getting very near race start, but right now we can break off to hear from Elio Castroneves.
Awesome job. I mean, my team never let me down. They always like, hey, come on, man, now it's green flag, you're in 6th, nothing much to lose, and I really went out there and said, you know, I'm going to lay the best lap I ever have, and it was pretty darn good, so I'm happy.
What about this racetrack? It seems like you really like this racetrack, do well here.
I mean, this place is really challenging. Like I said, I mean, we were struggling whole weekend on, and look at that. We just put a fantastic lap, and it was awesome. I mean, the car is everybody's very close on time, so it's going to be a tough race. I'm just hoping to start and finish in the same position.
I'm sure he is. We've now also got a chance to hear from the girl we were discussing just a moment or two ago, Danica Patrick. Terrific last weekend, well, on the Monday, 3rd. She's 2nd. She's on front row this time. Let's now hear from her.
Well, a front row starting position, what was the difference in the Fast 6 qualifying?
You know, my style is much more, you know, a few laps to do it, and I did well enough in the 1 lap qualifying that I got into the top 6 and then was able to have a session that was much more of what I needed to go fast. And
what was that?
You know, it's for me, I'm just still not 100% comfortable in the car. I mean, I'm comfortable, don't get me wrong, but you know, just that extra little bit of pushing that comes with having 1 or 2 laps before it to do similar things to build up. And I'll get there so that I don't have to do that anymore, and you know, then maybe I'll have a top 6 qualifying session where I don't go any faster because I've done everything I can. I don't know, but the 10-minute session definitely suits my needs and style a little more right now.
Danica Patrick talking just a moment or two ago before the race gets underway. What did you make of that, Johnny? She seems to be almost emanating sort of negativity. I mean, she doesn't look very relaxed, that's for sure.
No, she does look a little bit stressed, actually,
she does.
doesn't she? I don't know, really. I don't know what to make of that
what was all that about?
Having said that, let's be honest, I think sometimes if you're not a little bit hyped up and nervous before a race, I've gone into some races where I'm not feeling a little bit of butterflies in the stomach, and I tend to make errors because I'm just not focusing. I think it's good to have a little bit of nerves, but not so much it actually detracts from your performance. But
when you contrast what she said and how she said it with Elio Castroneves, the pole sitter, Chris, I mean, a world of difference. The guy's smiling, relaxed. Obviously, I know that he's been there and done it, but she does seem under huge pressure there.
Not just that, I think...
the reality of what's happening.
Yeah, and they're two completely different characters. I mean, Elio's always been like that, in or out of the car, and he chats away on the radio to his engineers throughout the race, and, you know, if he wins, he climbs the wall and so on. You just don't see her doing that. She is under pressure. I mean, we used the word a few minutes ago. She really is under pressure, and on the front row, on a course like this, I'm not surprised she's sounding a little nervous and concerned, and she's got the real pressure of her two teammates right behind her.
Yes.
Identical cars. They will have shared a great deal on setup. She likes it set up a bit differently to Dario, but I mean, they will have compared a lot of notes, and now it's really going to show. The first 10 laps are going to be very, very interesting.
I can't quite make out how she would have been received in the States, Johnny, because I can understand what you're saying. Lots of people sort of doubting her ability, maybe, until she does win a race. This just could be the race, and then a lot of those doubts will be answered.
I don't think many people in America do doubt her, actually. I think quite the opposite. I think it's over there that they've really built her up, perhaps a little bit too much too soon, so to speak, because of her gender. I think it's over maybe in Europe, where perhaps she hasn't got the credibility that she does in America, and obviously there's a situation where their autograph lines are longer for her on her own than the rest of the grid put together, and I think that does rankle occasionally amongst the other drivers, especially when they're quicker than her. So fair play to her for this. I think she's up there absolutely on merit. I think that having the two Andretti Green teammates behind her, or three of them, will actually be good for her, because I think nobody is going to, from those three cars anyway, dive bomber into the first corner or the second corner, which is going to be the real overtaking, which is the first hairpin, which is turn 2 of the lap. So in that sense, she should be feeling a little bit protected from behind, but you can bet that if they're queuing up behind her after 3 or 4 laps, she's going to have a few radio calls to let people through.
Johnny, thank you very much indeed. We can now finally cross to Mid-Ohio. There you can see the track in all its glory. The sun is shining, conditions look pretty good for racing, and we are about to get underway. Just in a moment or two's time, our colleagues in America will take us through the grid, but as you can see, things are just about to get underway, so for a moment I think we'll just let them maybe talk us through it and see what happens now as we take the grid.
Darren, that was a good lap. You happy with that?
Not really, you know. We missed out on our warm-up session this morning, which we were going to do a couple of qualifying sims on, because today's the first time we can run tyre warmers, and we broke a gear shift cable, so I just did an outlap and wasn't able to, practice myself how fast I could get up to speed, what tyre pressures we should be running, and things like that. So it was all a bit of a guess, and I guess for me, how hard I warm up, and your outlap is really crucial. How hard you run on that outlap is really crucial to how your tyres perform on that one qualifying lap, and every corner I was pushing harder and harder, but it was too late, and we're pretty happy with the lap. I think we'll still be safely inside the top 10, but I'm really sure this car had something for the fast 6 at the end, and then you never know, with a couple of little tweaks we might have been able to get the front row.
What about this racetrack? What makes it particularly difficult?
Everything, every corner. It's really tough. It really changes conditions. It's a bit like Indy in that respect. It changes conditions every hour. With every lap of rubber goes down, it changes. The cambers in the corner are tough, and there's a good variation of fast, slow speed, and big complexes. So it's pretty tough, and there's a bit of a jump over there as well, which you don't normally get on a road course.
And when you come off that jump, it gets really light, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Yeah, you got to really set your car up before you're sitting so low. You've got to position your car for landing on the far side and hope it's still on the track.
Okay, good luck.
So Manning will start outside the 4th row in the ABC Supply Company AJ Foyt Racing entry, starting alongside Sam Hornish. You see Sam's car there next to his as you take a look at what has transpired this season for Darren Manning.
Yeah, Manning told us that he actually got tired. He hurt his ribs, and they put a different seat in at Watkins Glen, and he got tired at the end of the race. Well, if he got tired there, I hope he's worked on his conditioning, because this is going to be a much tougher racetrack, and he's really going to be upper body strength that's going to take a lot of it at this particular place.
Well, if his ribs were sore after Watkins Glen, that was only 2 weeks ago. His ribs are probably still sore here today, and it's going to be a real workout. So this track represents a great challenge for the rest of the drivers that are in the top of their physical conditioning. And if you've got a slight tweak someplace, it's going to be a long afternoon for this young man.
Yeah, he and Foyt flew up to Beloit, Wisconsin this week and went to ABC. They had a big picnic for all the employees at ABC, a sponsor. They all flew up there and participated in that and then came straight down here to the racetrack.
There are Danica, and there's Dario Franchitti, along with Marco and his teammate Tony Kanai.
And welcome back to Indy Racing here on Sky Sports. I'm afraid that we have a slight delay. We're not exactly sure what the delay is. Our colleagues in America haven't yet given us the details. We understand that engines will be started at about 2 minutes before the hour, so that's coming up very soon. So we're looking forward to that. But just a moment or two ago, we were hearing from Darren Manning. Good to hear from him, despite those silly sunglasses. We'll talk about those in a minute, and we will not let him forget that when he's next in the studio. But right now, we can hear from Dan Weldon, another very distinguished racer in the USA, from these Isles.
Particularly tough to drive.
You just got to get something that works for you, and we've been struggling with that a little bit. Unfortunately, we lost most of that first session before qualifying, so that didn't help. It's just one of those situations. You've got to try and get it to work for you, and it's just not quite working right now.
What about in the race? Anything particular you can do to try to help that?
Our race pace is, like our qualifying pace, is not a good reflection of our actual pace itself, because in the race I think we'll be okay, but it just makes it a bit more difficult for you.
You have to use some pit stop strategy.
Yeah, for sure.
So Dan Weldon talking to us just a few moments ago. Christopher, what do you make of his season so far?
Well, just at the moment, he's having a bit of a sort of tough dip.
Yeah.
He wasn't happy with his performance last weekend on the oval in the rain-delayed race. I think he was 9th. Not everything's gone exactly the way he really wanted it to go. And there's just an element always of doubt, I think, as he was just saying there, in his mind, as much as there is in those of us who are meant to know about it, as to how quick he is on a road course for outright pace in comparison to, for instance, the Andretti Green team, who just seem to be happier on a road course. Don't get me wrong, Dan's an extremely strong driver, champion, Indy 500 winner and everything else. I mean, no argument. But I'm just not surprised he's done. I mean, he's starting 11th here. Yeah, he's starting 11th. And that's no place to make a championship run from.
No. And Johnny, how do you assess what he's done so far, Dan?
I think it's tough for him because he came into it and with Andretti Green a few years ago, and it was always like an upward curve. It's very, very easy to be good and confident when things are going well. I think this is probably the first time since he really came into the IRL that he's having a bit of a tough time, which happens to all drivers. And
he's had the dream spell, hasn't
absolutely,
he?
Absolutely, and we're sitting here talking about it, and journalists are going to be asking about it, and it becomes a bit annoying. And obviously, self-doubt is in all of us, and I think maybe it just creeps in a little bit, and it's just a bit of a frustration for him, but I've no doubt that he'll sort of kick it back, and he's awesome on ovals and maybe get his confidence back up there, and there's only a couple more street courses to go or road courses to go, so he should be okay, but he's not going to win the championship, which is very unlikely. I think he realises that, which is never a nice feeling.
Makes this race all the more important. We can now also hear from the man who's on a roll with 2 consecutive victories, Scott Dixon.
Well, Scott Dixon, you're 34 points behind Dario Franchitti in the championship chase, 6 races to go. How much pressure do you feel to win every race?
A lot. I think that's what we got to do. We got to try and win all these races and apply as much pressure as we can to Dario. But the AGR guys and girls have been very fast this weekend, and we struggled a little bit, I think, on the target team. We just haven't had the grip that we've needed. I think we're a little bit better maybe on full tanks through a race distance, but it's been a struggle for us, so it's hard to apply that pressure. But looks like we're starting next to Dario again for probably like the 3rd week in a row or something, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it makes for a good championship showdown when the 2 of them are starting right next to one another. They'll be able to keep an eye on each other.
Chris, he seems very relaxed, very positive. He really is on a good roll, though, isn't he?
Well, we were just talking about Dan having a dip, and to be fair, Dan is third in the championship. For heaven's sake, it's not that much of a dip. Scott really knows about a dip. If you remember, after the year he won the championship, he then was on the wrong engine in the wrong car at the wrong time, and just nothing worked for him. And he had a horrible season, and really the doubts began to set in. And after his championship year, he'd been over in Europe testing for Formula One, you know, everything was about to happen, and then suddenly this great woof, down to the bottom again. But he's now really back on it, and it's really just this season. For the first time he's really come back on it, and he's right up there and pushing Dario hard. He's only, well, it's 50 points for a win, and he's 34 points behind, so if it goes badly for Dario and well for him, he can be on the top of the table going into the 2-week summer break. So he's strong, and it's good to see him, and he does look relaxed and happy.
It's also made the whole series, it's just brought everything to life at the right time, hasn't it? I mean, in those terms, Johnny, we've got a real interesting battle now.
It's funny, these championships in the RRL and in the old days of Champ Car, it always seems to come down to two protagonists, and the number of times you get a situation where they tie on points at the end of the year and it's count back on wins for the actual champion and everything is amazing. It never ceases to amaze me how exciting and how close it can get. And Scott Dixon's really, he says he's under pressure to win, and of course he is, but really he's in the fighting seat at the moment, because for him it's just a case of going out there and doing his best. For Dario, when he's coming up to lap traffic, he's obviously driving hard and everything, but in the back of his mind it's going to be don't risk too much, because I think you even heard him say at the race last weekend that there was a situation on the oval where he thought, you know, if I'd not been leading the championship, I probably would have kept my foot in and gone 3 wide, but he thought I'll just back out and play it safely, and that's how Dario, and he's clever, he's been doing this a long time, whereas Scott's just got nothing to lose, he might as well charge.
And from if you like, keeping the roll going, the impetus, I mean, how significant is that with a driver? Does that actually happen, that you get on this roll and you just do everything you can to keep it going?
Well, absolutely, because you arrive at the weekend, you arrive at the track knowing that you are going to be a contender for the victory, and if you come to a circuit knowing that you've got the package and the team and the car and you're confident and everything's right and you're going to be in contention for the victory, that's really all you can ask for as a driver. You can never come knowing you're going to win. So if you're in that position, it really helps your confidence. If you come knowing already that there's going to be issues and things are going to be going wrong and you're not going to be as fast as you would like for whatever reason, you just don't come with that same level of confidence.
Chris, you've got obviously a point to make about this impetus, this momentum.
There's a young man over in Europe who's not doing badly as the so-called number 2 in the McLaren Grand Prix team, you know, and indeed how Hamilton can recover from the difficult weekend he's had this weekend with an accident, mechanical problems, delays, wrong strategy and everything else, that's the test of the character. And that's what these guys here are about to experience at this Mid-Ohio course. It's just, it's all in the, Johnny won't ever say this, but having observed racing drivers from close up in the paddock and the pit lane for a few years, it is a natural, it's like any sportsman. It is about your confidence. If you scored a couple of goals the previous week, then you're on a roll.
You mentioned the track there. We've now got a chance to see it from the driver's perspective. Here we are. Take a look at Mid-Ohio.
Mid-Ohio is a beautiful course here in central Ohio. It has a lot of elevation change and also a lot of fast and slow corners. Going down into turn 1, it's a very fast left-hander right after the start-finish line. You got to get through there very well to get down to the keyhole. The keyhole is probably the most important corner in this whole course because it's flat, 180 degrees, but it's a long straightaway down in the S's, and that's where you can get around somebody. This is the part of the course that really works your arms. These drivers are going to be tired when they get through with this. They go through the carousel, down into the last couple of corners before they go out onto the main straightaway, but believe me, after 85 laps and that last part of the course where you're turning all the time, these guys and gals are going to be tired.
Turn 1 is fantastic. I mean, it's kind of off camber, and when you come, you just lift and hammer again, man. That for me, it's awesome.
Keyhole is one of the most important corners on the track here. You know, you're up into 6th gear, you're carrying some pretty good speed into the corner. Obviously, it's a hairpin type corner. You're down to 2nd gear. You got to slow the car down, but it's important, it's paramount that you get off the keyhole with good acceleration on the throttle early, because really the only passing zone is going into turn 4.
Going into the S's is that's one of my favorite parts of this track. It's got kind of a roller coaster feel, that first part to it. Then you turn into 5, you're going up quite a big hill into there, over a crest. It's another different challenge there, completely the opposite from turn 4.
Coming into the carousel in 5th gear, you're going very fast, and it's a corner that's hard to see, it's hard to pick your point, because you're sort of going flat, but then the corner drops away a lot.
You're thinking about getting on throttle as early as possible. Leads onto the second longest straight here on the track. So up second, third, fourth, past the start-finish line, and then you're up into fifth gear, high in the revs, heading down into turn one.
Terrific. Haven't seen that before. Fascinating stuff. Hope you enjoyed it at home. We're about to go to the race start. I can tell you that things are just about to get underway. Let's now cross then for this Honda 200 from the classic Mid-Ohio course. Join our commentators out there, Larry Rice and Gary Lee.
Start your engines.
Those Hondas jump to life as you see the drivers making their final adjustments on the shoulder straps. As we'll take now a look at the starting lineup for today's 85-lap ride. And once again, Elio Castroneves with his 6th pole of the year. He's been on the pole for all 3 of the road races. Danica Patrick, her best start on a road circuit, starting outside the front row. In the second row on the inside, Tony Kanaan, 4th the points. Marco Andretti was actually the fastest in single-car qualifying yesterday, but was not quite that fast in the group session over the final 10 minutes. In the third row on the inside, guys battling for the championship this season, Dario Franchitti with his 3 wins, now 34 points ahead of Scott Dixon. But remember, Scott has won the last 2 outings. Sam Hornish, who had a great ride at Watkins Glen 2 weeks ago and finished second, will start alongside Darren Manning in the 4th row. Manning driving for A.J. Foyt, of course, Sam for Roger Penske. In the 5th row on the inside, Buddy Rice, the middle of the pack, alongside the newest driver in this series, driving for the Ray Hall Letterman team. There is Ryan Hunter-Ray. Of course, a couple of off-track miscues so far this weekend. Dan Weldon not qualifying all that well after a great start to the season. Will start inside of Thomas Scheckter. That's in row 6. Scheckter, of course, driving for Vision Racing. In the 7th row, there's Koski Matsura on the inside. A.J. Foyt, the 4th. Of course, A.J. not used to running on the road courses. He gets more experience with each one of these outings. In the 8th row, Scott Sharp, a 2-time Trans Am champion from road racing, did not qualify all that well. And there's Eddie Carpenter, who comes out of midgets and sprints and Silver Crown cars with really no road racing background. In the 9th row, also with really no road racing background, is Sarah Fisher and Vito Mira. We have documented how he crashed yesterday as he was about to complete his qualification lap. As you take a look at the pole sitter looking back at Danica. And of course, as we indicated, he has won here on 2 occasions. He won back in 2000 and 2001 when the Champ Car Series ran here at Mid-Ohio. There's his first win in 2000. And back-to-back in 2001.
The same exuberance that...
And Spider-Man heads for the fence. And with tradition, climbs the fence, much to the delight of the huge crowd here in Mid-Ohio. Now again, Larry, today we're going to start the race on what I would call the back stretch because it's a longer straightaway than the front stretch. The restarts will take place back there as well.
Right, after the carousel. Distance, 191.9 miles, 308.88 kilometers. The pit window, 28 to 31 laps. So that's going to be a very important figure to keep in mind. After they reach lap 55, I think you're going to see some guys come in and make a pit stop early to try to get in position, track position. Castroneves, of course, on the pole, 22nd career pole. What a mark. What can you say about that?
Well, of course, that's the most in the IndyCar series. With his 6th pole of the season, he has tied Billy Boat for the most poles in a season. He'll likely break that before the year is out. It is a beautiful day here in Mid-Ohio.
Absolutely. 24 degrees. Humidity is only 47%. Almost no wind. So, and it's mostly sunny. You can't ask for a better day for racing, and that's actually going to help the drivers. The fact that it's not really hot will help them with how physical this track is going to be.
This is what's called the keyhole. You saw from that aerial shot a couple of different layouts there that they can shorten the racetrack if they want to. This is a very tricky part of the racetrack because they really have to get through this corner and get off this corner because it heads into a really long straightaway with a slight dogleg to the right.
Yeah, and that, of course, we were riding with Castroneves. Now we're riding along with Vitor Mira, the guy who starts first and the guy who starts last in this race. So we'll get some shots from both of them.
There's Danica, who will start outside the front row. Now, she wasn't overzealous in that practice session this morning. She was about mid-pack, and she's right along with Scott Dixon, who will be starting back in the 6th position today.
Yeah, and he was not particularly thrilled, but still, that's a pretty good spot. Darren Manning, he's going to have an onboard camera today, and of course, he might be the biggest surprise here.
And there is Hunter Ray, 2 off-track excursions, including one big one this morning, but very little damage as first the sand trap slowed him down, then he got into the tire barrier, so did not hit a concrete wall as Mira did yesterday.
Right, and so they just replaced some front end pieces, and he's back out there. But these cars about a lap away from the start of this race, and after they go across the start-finish line, we'll see them start to get up in a side-by-side formation.
Once again, this track will see the start-finish line actually on the finish line will be along the front straightaway in front of the press building. However, the start and the restarts will be down there between turns
3 and 4. Right. It actually is going to be right about at turn 3, out of turn number 2. So they're going to come out of turn number 2, get the start, and they've got that little kink that they call number 3.
See, this straightaway is not long enough there at the start-finish line to really get them lined up side by side.
And that last corner is so tight that they couldn't get side by side to get off of it. So they decided to go ahead and start them on that back straightaway. They'll line up very quickly coming off the keyhole and then get the green flag.
And that decision was not made until about an hour and a half before the race.
The drivers actually voted to have it on the front straightaway, but they decided not to do that.
And they come off the first corner. Now that straightaway down to the keyhole, that tight right-hander. They now line up side by side.
Yeah, they'll go around the keyhole side by side.
Then they'll start accelerating through a right-hand dogleg.
Okay, get ready. Get ready, get ready. Green flag.
Well, I started to say good and upside down is Marco again. Marco Andretti upside down the second time of the year for Marco. He was upside down in Indianapolis. We started to say it was a good, clean start, then some bumping, and you see he's trying to push himself out of there, and there's no way he's going to get out until they roll that car over.
Yeah, and Danica went off on the other side. I'm not sure if she made any contact with anybody, but Danica did not get a good start. She fell back, and she was kind of in between Kanan and Marco back there, and I think that's probably what started that whole thing, was they didn't know whether to try to make a pass. They finally got out of the throttle, and then it just kind of jammed up from there on back. Not sure what they'll do about a restart. That did happen in the very first corner after the start of the event.
And so you can imagine what would have happened had they started down there on the actual starting line. They'll push the car over.
Good news is Marco was moving around in there. Looked like he was trying to get out.
Well, and this is a race that they had high hopes that he could win. Remember, he won at Infineon last year. He's been one of the fastest drivers throughout practice and qualifying yesterday. He was the fastest in the single lap qualifying session, but then did not fare so well in that 10-minute session. Let's go down and hear from Michael.
The replay, let's roll it, and you can take a look here.
Waiting.
Yeah, we both are. Because you didn't get to see it. You didn't see what happened, right?
No, I did.
Here it comes.
No, the monitor's out, so.
You got a TV feed of that?
So Danica got...
Oh, Tony spun. It was Tony's fault. Ah, Jesus.
One more look, Michael.
That one wasn't a good angle.
When you say it was Tony's fault, from what perspective?
Not in terms of doing anything wrong. He just lost control, looks like. Lit him up, and Marco was just a victim.
There's the good news. That's what you want. You've had that experience. You've been in the air here. not something you wanted to share with your son. What are you going to say to him when you first see him?
Nothing to say, you know. It wasn't that bad. I think it looked worse than it was, but you know, it's just a big disappointment for the whole team. You know, 3 of our cars are out of it right away.
Guys, it's interesting. Everybody seems to be without their replay monitors down here on pit road, so they're flying blind, literally. And while the pits remain closed, they are relying on whatever we can show them to find out what's happening on the backside of this racetrack.
Well, there were high hopes for Andretti Green with 4 of the top 5 positions, and of course at least 1 car out on that first turn of the first lap.
Welcome back. So problems on the opening lap, I'm afraid, in this Honda 200 race from mid-Ohio. Christopher Tate and Johnny Molan watching it with me. Christopher, I think you're both agreed, aren't you? There was a problem with the start right from the beginning. I mean, we're only 30 seconds into the race.
Yeah, that's right. And as you see here, Danica is holding... and there we can hear the green flag man is talking to the lead car and saying, yes, you can go for a start. And Danica was being squeezed right back right at the beginning there. I'm not quite sure what Tony Kanaan, well, as Michael Andretti just said just before we went to a break, that was pretty much his fault, really. But it was a very odd decision of the starter to give the green to go at that point on the back straight. Not necessary. Send them around one more time and get them to shape up properly, because otherwise that sort of thing will happen.
Yeah, Johnny, you were making exactly the same point, that the start, I mean, because you know about starts in that position on the track.
Well, the trouble is Elliott doesn't want to lose the advantage of having pole, even though he's on the right-hand side, and as soon as they wave green, you can start racing. So he wants to get a jump. So he came out of the keyhole and basically floored the throttle. Danica was a little bit late getting into the throttle, and
so
she was almost in the middle
behind him.
Well, she was almost in the middle of the
Sandwich.
second row.
Yeah, exactly.
When they went across officially what is the start line on the back straight to start. So, in my opinion, regardless of what happened with Kanaan sliding into it, which obviously not her fault at all, she has every right to be a little bit annoyed there, because at the time that they went green, Catherine Evers was at least 2 car lengths in front of her, when they should actually be side by side.
So Kanaan's effectively what, taken out 3 cars? Have we got?
He's managed to, I think you saw Michael Andretti there sort of slip up a little bit on the live when they were talking. He said that's Tony's fault, and then afterwards he said, well, he didn't really do it, but effectively Tony Kanaan has wiped out 3 cars. I can't imagine that her right rear of Danica won't have a ton of toe out in it now.
Absolutely.
The handling's not going to be that great. So.
Now these are the live pictures coming in. The car's still out on the track, but obviously there was some debris, there was some damage. Yeah. It'll take a little while. Go on, Chris. What?
And Kanaan is coming in to have the car checked over.
From the impact with various other people's cars.
That's right. And it'll be interesting to see what they do here now. So they're just going to change tyres, but I'd be surprised if they didn't have a good look around. Well, there you go.
He probably just flat spotted his tyres when he went round, and that's probably getting a vibration. He's at the back of the line anyway. He might as well come in and change all 4. I'm surprised that, well, they don't need to top him off probably. He's already full, but that's a bit of a no-brainer really. You're at the back of the pack anyway. You might as well come in and put new tyres on.
So this is going to revise predictions as the damaged car gets towed away. It's going to revise the race the way we see it panning out, Chris.
Yeah, you've got to feel sorry for Marco Andretti first of all. I mean, a word for him. So that is going to be the running order, and of course look who's up there in third place.
Well, I know, I mean in theory we're through 4 laps of a race. We haven't seen any racing yet,
haven't seen any racing, but a number of people were very sensible. Dario Franchitti.
Well, you saw what I was saying before. You know what I was saying about risking it. Scott Dixon just kept his foot and went round the outside. Dario was on the right, saw it all kicking off, right out the throttle, and lost 3 positions.
And Scott in fact now is, well, he's in second place, isn't he, if we're to believe what we just saw.
No, I think he is genuinely in second place, so it's all shaping up well for him, but I think Elio is still going to be very tough to beat.
Yes, but you've got to feel sorry for Danica. I mean, you know, her race has not, well, it has been run, but nothing's happened, poor girl.
Well, it was just one of those things, and we were just saying off air before we started that the first corner is always going to be exciting.
Well, you did actually say, I do remember you saying that.
Yeah,
and you were
not long before you
got it right, you know.
Yeah,
don't tell him.
No, don't tell him that. But no, it is tough for him. Hey, you know, we were just saying what a great job she'd done to get onto the front row, and best ever qualifying performance, and then to be messed up. Really not her fault. I think the starter let them go too quickly. Elio really jumped it, and her teammate got into her and pushed her off the track.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it would actually be quite useful if we could maybe see it one more time what's what actually happened and what Christopher was talking about. And here we go. This is just after the start, and Tony Kanaan somehow making contact. Well, crucially, as you can see there, with Danica, who goes one way, and Andretti the other. And thankfully, could have been worse, that.
Yeah, it pushed him across. Young Marquez, fine, and you can see, luckily, I mean, he's trying to say, get this race car off me, I want to get out. Not surprising.
I mean, the only danger, and you can see there, he actually hits the right rear of Danica, pushes her wide, and then bounces off into Marco. The only danger when you go upside down like that is very slow speed. He also went onto the grass as well. Is if fuel comes out and gets onto the hot exhaust and ignites, then you're in trouble because you can't get out. But if it doesn't, if there's no flame, then it's fine.
Unfortunately, there wasn't any flame. I mean, if there had been, there were quite a few people around, but you can't really right the car that quickly, can you? It's very difficult in that place. Well, anyway, we are, sorry, let's just interrupt you, Johnny. We are now on live pictures. It looks as if we can now go back and hopefully enjoy some racing action. Let's do that, and we'll be back in the studio soon. But for the moment, let's cross back to Mid-Ohio.
Okay, just a reminder, Elliot jumped there. That was not a restart from over there. The restart should be here on the front straightaway.
No, that's interesting because we're being told before the start of the race that the restarts would be over there near turn 3.
I guess they've changed their mind.
Green flag, starter, green flag.
At the start-finish line, or at the finish line, we should say. And right away, Dixon goes to work on Castro Neves. The keyhole after the restart. You see him just kind of keep screwing the steering wheel down to come off that corner down this long straightaway into that right-hand dogleg that is turn 3.
And you can see that's exactly Scott Dixon's plan. Put the pressure on. Make him think you're going to try it everywhere. He tried twice to put the pressure on just then.
Up over the crest, this is where the car gets light. We really cannot do justice to just how big of a drop-off that is and how light that race car gets. Ooh. You see him sawing the steering wheel.
Yeah, he was sawing the steering wheel for sure. The other place where it gets light is right there, coming off that hump. You've got to come down and come down straight. And there's another place where you have to come down pretty straight. We saw Hornish having a lot of trouble right there.
Castro Neves being dogged by Scott Dixon, Manning right behind. There's Franchitti back and forth. Hornish is now 5th. Ryan Hunter-Reay now in 6th position. Dan Weldon has moved up to 7th.
And you can see the first 7, 8 cars all running just nose to tail. Manning has fallen back just a little bit now, but Franchitti is right behind him and will start putting the pressure on him if he falls back much further. We're out of the back.
Danica's
car. She's hasn't gained anything. She's still running in 9th position, but she has put a little distance on Schechter. On Buddy Rice.
Buddy Rice is right behind, and Koski Mansour back at 11, 12 is A.J. Foyt.
Well, that is Schechter right behind her.
Foyt got around Rice. A.J.'s moved up a couple of positions. He may be catching on. He may have some of that A.J. Foyt blood. He may be catching on this road racing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back up front, you can see the top 3 cars about a car length apart, kind of riding right now. Manning, I expect, will come up and try to challenge these guys here in just a little while. He very badly would like to have a win. He's, he's kind of been forgotten back there. He's not one of the big 3 team drivers, and he would like very much to give A.J. Foyt a win on this road course.
Well, Dixon closes in as they go to the keyhole in lap 9 of this 85-lapper. And as you indicated, Larry, with the physical attributes of this racetrack, by about lap 65 or 70, these guys are going to be wanting this race to be over.
Yeah, it's going to get tiring. Of course, those every time you have a yellow, full course yellow, it helps some. But it's just the physical aspect of turning. And the front ends of these cars are very heavy on this part of the course. Especially, as the rubber gets laid down, the more rubber that gets laid down, the heavier the steering gets.
As we indicated, 4 support races this weekend with practice and qualifying, and they're probably encountering more rubber on the racetrack than they've ever encountered before, which makes the steering very, very heavy. So in addition to this being a physically demanding racetrack, add to it the heavy steering, and they're going to be very, very tired when this race is over. And you see Manning start to close in on Dixon.
Yeah, and you see the first 5 have kind of pulled away a little bit from everybody else, and then the next 3, Patrick has gotten around Schechter, and you can see Kanaan now working his way back up. He was started back in 17th on this restart. He's now up to 13th.
Let's correct something I said earlier. I talked about A.J. Foyt. Actually, that was Thomas Schechter.
Right.
His cars are so identically painted, except for the numbers, but it was number 2 is number 22, so Foyt's back in the 14th position right now. And Schechter's up to 9th, but Danica has moved to 8th.
Well, you can see right now Tony Kanaan working on the guys in front of him. As Vitor Meyer right in front of him. We're looking out the back of Vitor's car, and he's trying to move his way through the pack. He'd at least like to get up to about the top 8 or so before they start making their pit stops.
Well, and he can only go, about 3 or 4 laps longer than they can, because he stopped so early and topped off the fuel. So he's not that out of sequence with the rest of the field. Was on the pole and won at St. Petersburg. He was on the pole and was leading at Watkins Glen when Scott really applied the pressure and forced him to a mistake coming off the last turn. And now he starts from the pole position, is back up in that familiar spot. He's won here twice in the Champ Car era in 2000 and 2001.
Well, the good news for him, he's getting through the keyhole very well. He seemed to gain space on Scott Dixon through that keyhole, and off the keyhole and down this long back straightaway into turn 4 is the best place to make a pass. Scott Dixon did not gain on him. He is gaining on him down here in the short twisty part of the course. He catches back up with him a little bit down here, but down in the keyhole, the most important corner on the race course, he doesn't seem to be able to do much with him on that corner.
Well, keep in mind the last 2 outings that Dario finished 3rd and 2nd, while Scott won and got the bonus points, and Dario still lost 31 points off of his lead. But it's going to take a win by Scott. They're not going to be able to run like this and Scott have a chance to gain on him.
Well, right now he's biding his time. He doesn't have to go out there. He's a very patient race car driver. Now you can see during that last part of the course he's caught up again, and he's pretty close to him going into the keyhole. Now he's not going to be close enough to make a chance at the pass, but down here is where he lost a lot of time the last time, and again he loses 2 car lengths going through the keyhole. So that's good for Castroneves, not good for Scott
Dixon. But the way they're running right now, Larry, the race could be won or lost in the pit lane.
Oh, absolutely. The pit stops are going to be crucial. Any kind of a mistake in the pits is going to lose your track position. So the first 5 cars, all as you can see, running almost the identical speeds. The first 5 cars almost lap for lap. Actually, the first 8 cars almost are running the same exact times.
And that's why qualifying is so vital here. Track position is just a huge plus because it's very difficult to pass.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of a factor the tires are in this race too, because it could be that the tires go away before, and you start slowing down long before you have to make a pit stop. And the drivers, then if they have to start fighting the tires, it could mean a whole difference too.
So lap 14 now complete. Castroneves leading Dixon, Manning, Franchitti, and Hornish. Second, third, fourth, and fifth. 5.
Went through the S's.
What they used to call the Outback, Thunder Valley. And of course, the keyhole leads on to the 13th and final turn before the front stretch.
Carousel.
The carousel.
Before they get there. You can see right there, that's Ryan Hunter-Ray leading Dan Weldon and Danica Patrick.
Patrick has closed in on Weldon but can't get around.
He's doing a very nice job back there. He told us yesterday that these cars run almost the same times that the champ cars. He said the cars feel completely different, but he said they run almost exactly the same times as the old champ cars that he ran. You
take a look there. There's Hunter-Ray right behind him. Weldon right behind Weldon is Danica as they work on lap number 18.
He's running very consistent times. Weldon has not been up there to challenge him yet, and Danica same way. Once she caught these drivers, she has not been up there to challenge them. But Buddy Rice has also moved in with that pack. Once he got around Thomas Schechter, he's pulled up right in that four-car group right now.
Buddy back in 9th, 10th is Schechter. 11th is Mira, who came from the back of the pack after not getting a qualifying time yesterday after the car was repaired overnight. We're back topside looking down at your lead pack, and there is Mira, the number 4. Back there in the 11th position, Matsura behind him.
Yeah, and that car, it had some pretty good damage to it. So we said they put a whole new rear end. Basically, everything from the driver's cockpit back is new. They had to put a new engine in it, $75,000 they had to spend to put that engine in. And then, of course, the gearbox and the wings and all that stuff, they had to be replaced, too. As he spun right about there, coming off onto that part of the course and into the gravel trap.
That looks like Foyt right behind him now. Then Matsura, and then Kanaan.
Yeah, Kanaan.
Schechter right behind him.
Schechter.
Schechter. There we go, confusing those two cars of Schechter and Foyt. Schechter is in the 11th position. Foyt's 14th.
Yeah, Kanaan trying to get around Matsura, trying to do something with him, but can't. One time he got off the keyhole to try to make a challenge. Looks like he got a pretty good run there. He's going to go to the... Nope, not going to be able to do it. He looked down there, just saw he didn't have enough of a run. Had to pull back in behind him for the S's.
Well, of course, next week we have a week off. Next week is the NASCAR race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then, of course, in 2 weeks we're going to Michigan. And the following week we're at the Kentucky Speedway. 2 more road circuits on the season. It'll be at Belle Isle. I believe that's September 2nd. That's the island in the Detroit River. And then a week later up at Infineon in Northern California, in Napa Valley in Sonoma.
Kanaan, that's the only drawback to this road course is you've got to be quite a bit faster than a driver. You've got to force him into a mistake in order to make a pass. This one long straightaway is the only place you have to really try to make that pass.
Back up in front, Dixon tries to apply the pressure, and hopefully the Castronevic will make a mistake for him. We saw that mistake made a couple of weeks ago, a very uncharacteristic mistake on the part of Castronevic coming off the last turn to head down the straightaway there at Watkins Glen. Dixon, of course, took the lead, and you saw that one shot where Franchitti just did miss all the debris coming through that. That could have put him out of the race.
Yeah, I think you're going to see Castronevic remember that pressing a little bit too hard. I don't think you're going to see him do that again. I think he's going to make Dixon, if Dixon wants to get around him, he's going to make him do it the hard way by just out-accelerating him or out-braking him into one of the corners.
Run like this now since we went back to green after 6 laps. They've just completed lap 20. So Castronevic continues to lead Dixon, Manning, Franchitti. Hornish is still in 5th. Ray is now 6th. 7th is Weldon. 8th is Patrick. 9th is Rice. And 10th is Vito Mira.
Yeah, lap traffic could help some of these guys try to make the pass, but mostly I think it's going to be track positioning, and boy, the pit stops are going to be crucial.
Vito Mira, of course, has picked up the most positions from the start. He's gone from 18th to 10th. But up in front, Manning made a nice jump from 8th to 5th. And Dixon started this race in the 6th position. Now he's up to 2nd. Live coverage from Mid-Ohio Road Course, sports car course, about an hour's drive north of Columbus, Ohio. And the weather this weekend has just been beautiful for this late in July, when it's normally very hot and very humid. Not the case at all. It's been very actually cool and very low humidity.
Yeah, the driver's very, very fortunate that it has been that cool.
Very thankful that it's this
very
cool.
thankful, because it'll help them a lot near the end of the race when they're getting a little tighter. It'll be a lot better for them. But right now, the first 5 cars kind of moved away from everybody else, and they're just running a couple car lengths away, waiting on a driver in front of them to make a mistake, or waiting on the first pit stop so that they can make some changes to their car, because right now they're not in any position to make any challenges, it doesn't look like.
Well, Larry, I would think that the strategy would be different between Dixon and Franchitti, because Franchitti is racing to maintain his lead and win a championship, and the only way that Scott Dixon can win the championship is to win races.
Well, if Franchitti had some bad luck, he wouldn't have to win the races, but right now Franchitti hasn't had any bad luck at any place he's gone, really, except maybe at St. Pete, where he had...
but he came back and finished 5th in the race.
Yeah, he came back and finished 5th, so he's been very fortunate. He's been very smart. I mean, he's done what he needed to do. He hasn't put himself out of a race, and that's very, that's very important to do. I think that's what Scott Dixon has to do right now. He has to not put himself out of a race, run like he's running right now, run 1st or 2nd, and hope that, maybe that pressure will get to Franchitti sooner or later. I think they're both feeling the pressure, though. They both were showing a little pressure during qualifying yesterday, especially after they qualified. They were neither one in a very good humor. Neither one wanted to talk to us or anybody else, really. They just went back to the road homes, and basically they were very frustrated that they qualified 5th and 6th. They wanted to start nearer the front.
Well, keep in mind there are 10 points between 1st and 2nd in the point standings, and then the 3 bonus points within the most laps. However, when you get back to, let's say, 4th position to 5th position, there's only 2 points. And so if these 2 guys finish, 4th, 5th on the racetrack in any given race, Dixon cannot pick up enough points to really close in. There's Dan Weldon. Dan Weldon did not qualify all that well. He's struggled this season on the road courses. He's now in 7th position by virtue of moving up on that first lap, first turn fracas that we had out there. But Weldon started out, and he looked like he was going to be the guy to beat. I mean, that first race that he led all those laps at Homestead, and we thought, man, that's the guy to beat the first couple of races. But then after that, in fact, the last 4 races, he's only led 5 laps.
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 races, he led the majority of laps in every race, really threatened to make a runaway with the points. But since then, and he'll tell you, he said, we're just off a little bit. He said, our race speed is okay on this road course. He said, we're just off in qualifying. We didn't qualify well. And he said, that hurts you. You've got to be able to qualify well on the road courses. And he realizes that they're just a little off sync right now. I don't think any of them know. Obviously, none of them know, or they would fix it. But they need to get their act together and get back up in front. Obviously, I think their chances of winning the championship this year are off, but he would certainly like to win a couple more races.
There you see him right there between Hunter Ray and Danica Patrick. He should go back in front of the pack, and Castroneves. Quite honestly, Castroneves was 6th fast overall yesterday in the individual laps. Then in that 10-minute session, he laid one down and got the pole. But he has not been happy, even though he's leading this thing. He's not been happy all weekend with the chassis.
Yeah, no, you're right. He hasn't been. There's Danica, and I'm sure, I don't know what she's thinking right now. She was very happy. She was in the best mood that she's been in for a long time yesterday after qualifying.
Since Indy a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, she did a good job in the 1-lap qualifying. She wasn't sure when she went out that it was going to be good enough, but Hornish went out after her. He did not beat her. Castroneves went out after her, didn't beat her. So that, she had a very good 1-lap qualifying, and then she went out, and during that 10 minutes, the first spot changed like 6 or 7 different times. First is Kanan, then it's Castroneves, then it's Kanan, then it's Castroneves, and all of a sudden, Danica, wow, she blasted up there into 2nd place, and nobody ever beat her.
Well, you heard her say that she just needs 2 or 3 laps to get up to speed, and that 10-minute session fits her better than the 1-lap session. Kastornevitz out in front, going for his second road race win of the season. Of course, he started from the pole and won at St. Pete. He was on the pole 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen, but crashed early while leading under heavy pressure from Dixon. You're right along with Danica, who is still back there in the 8th position, back up to the front, and there's the gap between first and second.
Yeah, and it's pretty much maintained ever since lap number 1. Darren Manning fell back several car lengths there in the first up to about lap 10, and then all of a sudden he's caught right back up, and all 5 of those cars have maintained about that same distance. 1, 2, 3 car lengths back almost every lap since then. And nobody seems to be able to make a challenge for a position. They just seem to be able to run about the same speed, and their lap times on the board, they show that. They're all running practically the same speed. One will be up a 10th or down a 10th every lap, but basically all of them run exactly the same lap times.
Riding along with Scott Dixon, who celebrates his 27th birthday today. And of course, his mom wanted to make sure we said happy birthday. So
yeah, Glennis
documented that.
Glennis takes care of the birthdays in the family, that's for sure.
Maybe there's some birthday cake waiting for us in the motor home when this race is over.
Should I ask her, shouldn't we?
Early pit stop for Koski Matsura on lap 27.
Well, everybody's going to have to start coming in here in the next 5, 6, 7 laps. They can go a little bit farther because of all the yellow flags they ran at first. But I think that the leaders anyway will stay out this time until they have to come in, because they don't want to give up the track position. And if they have to come in, then everybody else behind them is going to have to come in. It might be different on their 3rd pit stop, though. You might see some of the drivers come in a little bit early and time that last pit stop backwards. They might come in on lap 55 or 56, knowing that that'll get them to the end of the race, and hoping if there's a yellow, they'll be in front of everybody else and stop at that time.
Hunter Ray is also in the pit lane early for his pit stop, so some pit strategy being displayed here as Vito Mira also off, and he is in the pits.
Oops, almost had a collision as they came in. Yeah, all these drivers that are in the back, they got nothing to lose by coming in early, trying to get off sequence, hoping for a yellow, and that'll put them up in front in case there's a yellow and everybody else comes in. So they've got nothing to lose. Really good strategy on all their parts. Anybody that's back of about 8th or 9th place.
Working on the completion of lap 28. There's a look at Sam Hornish, who is back there in the 5th position. That's where he's been since the initial restart. There's a look at Manning, and right behind him is Franchitti and then Hornish.
Franchitti actually starting to put a little pressure on Darren Manning now, as I think he's getting very racy, getting a little tired of sitting back there in 4th. He wants to get up there. Manning heads for the
pits. He just got 4th because Manning heads for pit lane.
Well, this is going to be crucial for Manning to get in and out in a good time, running in one of those top 4 or 5 positions. He's got to have a good time.
Well, let's see now if Franchitti can close down at all on Dixon. As you see the ABC crew go to work and Manning is away.
See, that'll hurt him just a little bit. Doesn't look like much, but he had to pull out and around Buddy Rice. And because that little bit could make a difference in a position or 2 on the racetrack when all this gets sorted out, because it didn't look like a lot of time, but he just couldn't run straight out and gas it as hard as he wanted to until he got out and around Buddy Rice.
Danica Patrick has made her first pit stop.
So these drivers are coming in a little earlier than I had expected, but your leaders, Manning especially, I figured he'd stay out till about lap 30 or 31.
Well, Franchitti appears to be closing in now on Dixon, which leads me to believe that he was faster than Manning, but simply couldn't get around him.
Oh yeah, I think there's no question.
There's your leader.
There's the leader coming in.
So we'll have our second leader of the afternoon, and also Franchitti comes in.
Go around, man. Go around, man.
So Dixon takes over on lap 29. 85-lap schedule.
See if this pit stop goes okay. It looked pretty routine.
So Kastornevitz is away. Dixon, will he come in the next time? There goes Franchitti.
Franchitti had the end spot, so he had the best position. He beat him out.
He beat him out.
So he's gained at least 1 spot. No, that was Hornish coming out. He did not beat Castroneves. That was Hornish who was also in that he beat out of the pits. Again, those cars look just exactly alike.
Well, between those cars and the Vision cars, it's just very difficult to tell them apart.
Dixon probably will be coming in this time. If not, the lap after. It seems like 29, 30 laps. Even with those 4 yellow flag laps, they don't want to take a chance, especially the first time, until they find out exactly what their fuel consumption is.
And here comes Dixon for his scheduled pit stop.
And remember, his teammate Dan Weldon has had
straight in, right on the marks. Have a good stop, boys. Segment number 1. Reset your fuel. Then you're going to concentrate with Rick now. Rick's your guy now. Good, clear. Let's go. You got Tony on your right. Tony on your right. Helio coming. Then Dario.
Got out in front of Elio.
Well, Tony Kanaan should be our leader now.
But the important thing there is that Dixon beat out both Elio and Franchitti. Dixon's pit crew got him in and out in front of them because Kanaan, well, he still can run a couple more laps, but he will have to make a pit stop.
Because Kanaan came in after that snafu at the start, changed tires, topped off the fuel, but as you indicated, they didn't burn off that much fuel before he came in.
No, he'll have to pit here in the next 2 or 3 laps, but I'm sure after that start, he's happy just to be running with the lead group. And of course, if they get a yellow, things could change too. But right now, I think the real significant thing is that Scott Dixon has beaten Elio Castroneves out of the pit area.
Scott Dixon would still like to latch onto those bonus points for leading the most laps. Right now, Castroneves has led 28. Kanaan will relinquish the lead to Scott Dixon when he makes his pit stop.
Yeah, and you can see Manning is not in view there with the rest of those cars. There he is back there. He got out, but he lost a lot of track position on that pit stop. So his pit stop obviously a second or so slower than those first 4 drivers.
Take a look there. This Kanaan. He should be in Kanaan's team. Andretti Green is ready for him. He should peel off this time by through the carousel. He'll pull off to his right and head for pit lane.
That's Sarah Fisher right in front of Scott Dixon. We'll see if her spotters are advising her that he's back there, and she did. She moved to the outside and let him go, which is a good gesture on her part.
All right, now is Kanaan coming in this lap?
Let's find out here in just a second. I'm sure he is. There he goes.
There he goes.
Oh. Okay, 4 tires full of fuel. Good job on those laps.
So it tears the tearaway. Heads for the attention of the pit, and that will turn the lead over to Scott Dixon. Dixon would lead for the second time this afternoon. He assumed the lead when Castroneves made his stop. He led for a lap before making his stop.
As a driver, that's
clear behind.
As a driver, it's a very tough moment. When they drop that car, your first instinct is to go. And when they drop that car and they tell you to wait till all the fuel's in, you're just like in agony wanting to take off, knowing the tires are on. But you've got to get that full of fuel, because if you don't, down the line, it could really make a huge difference and could hurt you.
Right now, your leader is enjoying the biggest lead of the afternoon, and that's not very big.
No, it's not.
That battle for second between Castroneves and Franchitti.
Well, now Franchitti's got the pressure on him. He knows who's leading this race. He's well aware that Scott Dixon is leading, and he's running third. So the pressure's on him, and he's going to put the pressure on Castroneves to try to get up in front. So right now,
these cars are so evenly matched, Larry. It's one thing to catch a driver. It's something else on this racetrack to be able to pass him.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's tough.
So Dixon leads Castroneves, Franchitti, and Hornish. 33 laps. Right on.
welcome back to IndyCar Racing here on Sky Sports. Hope you're enjoying it at home. Lap 35 of 85 at the classic Mid-Ohio course, and at the moment it's New Zealand's Scott Dixon who leads the way. We are with you right the way through to the end of the action, and I do hope you'll stay with us to analyse what happens at the end of what promises to be a pretty entertaining race. Certainly had a dramatic start, but now let's get back to the action once again and join our commentators at Mid-Ohio.
He's making everybody else chase him around this road course. Here's the other place it gets really light in the steering.
You wouldn't like this racetrack because you don't like roller coasters.
Yeah, that's right.
You had a flat track, you wouldn't like this one. Well, right now the lead, Larry, has grown to 3.8 seconds.
Yeah, once he got out in front, his lap times have been pretty quick, and they've been quicker than anybody else on the racetrack. Everybody else running about the same, but he's had some very good lap times once he got out front.
This is the battle for 9th position. Rays and Kanan.
And Kanan, as you can see from that graphic, Kanan is running faster, but as you said, catching him and passing, two different things. This will be a crucial corner as he goes through one and down through two, and everybody knows, including Hunter Ray, that that's where he's going to try to pass him. Oh, no, he's going to try to pass him going into the keyhole.
And up over the rumble strip and didn't get the job done.
Well, you know, Hunter Ray squeezed him a little bit, and he didn't want to crash, so he ran up over the rumble strip, got out of the throttle, and let him go. He had a big run on him going into that keyhole.
You know, Larry, we talk about a race driver making a car very wide. This is an easy racetrack to make a car very wide.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And I think Tony, this time around, he won't try that again. He'll follow him through the keyhole. What he should do is fall back a little bit going into the keyhole, get a big run off him coming off of the keyhole, and then try to get around him into turn 4. We'll see if that's the way he plays it or not. But right now, he's falling back a car length or two, and that's probably where he should be when he enters that turn number 2, that keyhole corner.
Keep in mind now that Castro Evans led the first 28 laps of this event, and there are those 3 bonus points. And we talk about that a lot, but that could be crucial in the final outcome of the season. Remember, the 2 guys, Weldon and Hornish, tied for the championship last year, and it went to Hornish based on total number of wins. Had Weldon had 3 more bonus points at any given racetrack, he'd win the championship.
Yeah, everything's important in this series because there's no gimmies. Franchitti said, after, even when he had a 60-some point lead, he said, well, you know, it's too early to start thinking about winning this thing. He says, a lot of races left. And with every race, that proves to be, whoa, Scott Dixon up and over that hill down there where it gets a little light. Got real sideways right there.
Coming up on Ed Carpenter, number 20. Ed back in the 16th position, already a lap off the pace. He's only 2 laps down now, so Dixon has to be very careful getting around Carpenter.
Yeah, and again, Carpenter doesn't have a lot of road racing experience. He's learning with every lap he runs. It's just like Mears said about Hornish, you know. He just learned because he was out there running all the time, and every lap he got, he just got faster and faster. Of course, Castroneves trying to hang on to that second place, but quite honestly, Franchitti's putting a lot of pressure on him right now.
He's 3.9 seconds behind Scott Dixon. And we look back from that second position, third position is Dario now. Franchitti applies the pressure to Castroneves. He is over 4 seconds behind your leader, Scott Dixon. And right behind Franchitti comes the 5th running, make that the 4th running, Sam Hornish. So you have
well, the thing Franchitti doesn't, the thing Franchitti doesn't want to do is take himself out of the championship. You know, it's better to finish 3rd than to not finish at all. So, you know, maybe the next time you'll move up 1.
Well, there's Hornish, who's back and forth. Now, remember, he was running 2nd at the finish 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen for his best ever finish on a road course. This would be, his 2nd best finish here. Yeah. He finished in 4th here this afternoon.
Yeah, and again, Rick Mears had a lot of praise for him and what he's picked up over the last year on the road courses and just by perseverance.
There's Darren Manning, who started this race back in 8th. Was at one time up to 3rd, now to the pit stop back to 5th. But you talked about how much time he lost. It didn't appear so, but how much time he lost exiting the pit and moving around Buddy Rice.
Well, he's got high expectations for himself. He thinks he ought to finish in the top 5 at every road course. And he was very disappointed with his qualifying yesterday.
Danica, of course, had to get back into her rhythm. She had to be very unhappy at the start of this race, where she started this race in 2nd position, quickly dropped back, and now she finds herself after a pit stop in 6th position.
Well, I think she's got to be happy with that. I mean, considering she fell clear back to 9th on that start where she went out through the grass, she's picked herself back up very well. She's running strong. And I think even though I'm sure she isn't happy, she should be, because it's a difficult job, as we see from Tony Kanaan, who's back there in 9th.
Well, Weldon cannot be happy at all with his efforts. After the first couple of races, it looked like he was going to win the championship. Weldon now back in 7th position. And quite honestly, the middle section of this season, this team, at least with this car, has struggled. While his teammate is winning races and vying for the championship, this car is struggling.
Well, if you don't think he doesn't understand that his teammate's winning races and he's running in the back, you're wrong, because he understands it very well, and he knows that his job at some point could depend on that.
Well, Buddy Rice back there in the 8th position now.
And he's had a pretty good weekend. He's had a real good weekend. He said in qualifying, he said they just missed it. They tried some different stuff. He practiced pretty well and was up in the top 6 or 7 in practice. And then he said they tried some different stuff for qualifying. He said, we just blew it. He said, we qualified terrible, had a terrible setup on there. And he said, we just missed it. We said, we won't do that again.
Coming up behind him, you see the green-white number 11 car, the 7-11 car of Tony Kanaan. Rides now in the 9th position. He went to the back of the pack after that first skirmish under the yellow. He came in, topped off the fuel, took on the tires, went to the back of the pack, and now he's been working his way back through, and now he's up to 9th.
Yeah, he's just going to use some pit strategies and early stops and so forth to try to get himself back up front, because realistically, from starting in 17th where he did after that initial start, it's going to be almost impossible for him to get up in the top 5 unless there's a huge crash.
There's Ryan Hunter-Reay now running in the 10th position. Took over this car for the Ray Hall Letterman team just this week. That's the car that Jeff Simmons has been in. In fact, he took that ride over at really the beginning of season last year after the fatality of Paul Dana in that warm-up session at Homestead. He was tapped to drive this ethanol car, drove it last season and this year before being replaced just this week by Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Yeah, he was up in 6th earlier. His pit stop cost him a lot of time. Not sure what happened. It looked like he got in and out okay, but for some reason they had a slow pit stop and it dropped him several positions.
So Scott Dixon continues to open up the gap now over 4.5 seconds as he completes lap number 42. So the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th right together at the racetrack. Kasernevitz, Franchitti, and Hornish. But they see that red car start to disappear on the horizon.
Well, that's not a good thing, and they're already talking to their crews about what they need to do to the car on the next pit stop, because they want that last segment to be their best segment. They want to put on their best set of tires. They want to put on, change the wings, whatever they have to do, so that during that last 28 or 29 laps. And I think you'll see a lot of these drivers stop about lap 56, lap 57, no matter where they are on fuel, because they don't want to get caught up with the yellow flag and be behind everybody else. So I think you'll see a lot of them pit about that time. Of course, that's a few laps away, 15 laps away or so.
Well, of course, Scott Dixon has won the last 2 races. If he wins today, he will join Dan Weldon and Kenny Breck as the only 2 drivers that have won 3 races back to back to back.
Yeah, it hasn't happened in several years, and of course, it's so difficult to do. When you got 3 teams like Penske, Ganassi, and AGR, very, very excellent teams. All of them have a lot of money to spend. They all have a lot of resources. They all have good people working for them. So to go out and win 3 races in a row, that's why we thought it was so spectacular when Weldon led all those laps early in the season. How can likely to do that to the Penske team, for instance.
Well, Penske is not having a Penske-like season. No matter what transpires here today, they've had crashes, they've had miscues, and it's been very un-Penske-like.
Right. And, you know, we talked about some of what goes on the racetrack being luck. When you stop and think, Dan Weldon, we saw earlier the 3 pit stop problems he had. 2 of them were with air jacks, absolutely mechanical problems. And his teammate has not had those kind of problems. So some of it's just the luck of the draw. Franchitti also, I mean, he's had some instances where he could have been caught up in crashes, and he wasn't. And he was caught up in that one down in Tampa. Got back on the racetrack, a couple of yellow flags, a couple of good pit stops, and he's right back up in the top 5.
Now keep in mind, over the last 2 races, when Dixon gained those 31 points, Franchitti was second one race and third the other race. But the big difference is, if you know, first place pays 50 points, second place pays 40, third pays 35. If you add those 3 bonus points, that's how you can stack the deck. And right now, if this is his 3rd straight victory here today, we have 3 victories for Franchitti. It's who's been the most consistent the rest of the races. You watch Tony Kanaan. Kanaan, of course, when he won the championship about 3 years ago, was very consistent, completed every lap of competition. Now, the only driver that's close to that this year is that man right there, Scott Dixon, going into today's race. He completed all but 1 lap of competition. And Dixon's lead now goes to 5 seconds.
Yeah, he's certainly having a good run. I mean, he runs this racetrack very well. As frustrated as he was, I mean, he is a very quiet guy. Doesn't say a lot. He doesn't show a lot of emotion sometimes. He and Hornish are both like that.
His dad shows all the emotion.
Yeah, right. His dad, he can do that. But anyway, they you know, he was emotional yesterday. He thought that they should be up farther than the 3rd row. He thought they should be up challenging for that first 2 rows, and instead of that, he was starting in 6th, and he wasn't happy at all.
We look back to Kanaan, still on the heels of Buddy Rice. That's the battle for 8th.
Well, he's been following Buddy Rice here for a while, trying to figure out a way to get around him. So far, just hasn't been able to pull off that good run down this back straightaway. This is his best spot. If he can get off the keyhole and get a run on him down that back straightaway. Buddy Rice been doing a good job, though. Like we said, all week long, he's been having a strong run here on this road course. And he catches him right there through the first part of that turn forward. The S's, he was very quick, caught him a lot faster than he thought he was going to, almost ran into the back of him right there, and that's something he doesn't want to do. That's what happened on the very first lap when he ran into the back of Danica.
Well, as Dixon continues to open up his gap, we would say right now that if this race ended like this, with Dixon getting the 3 bonus points, he'd knock off another 18 points.
That looked, well,
who was it? With
we
all
won't
the dust,
speculate. Yeah, it looked like
Hornish.
Yeah, it's Hornish. Started to say it looked like one of the Penske cars, and it is Hornish. And again, this is one of the things that's hurt Sam on the road courses. He's fast, but he makes.
Are you okay?
Not talking.
Where was that off the first turn?
See if they can get us a push if you're all right there.
Let's watch again. This is off the first turn.
Yep, just backed her off and into the tire barriers there.
We saw several from the support series go off there in the first turn, but not the IndyCar drivers.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's a very fast corner, and not one you would really consider to be real tricky, but we have seen a lot of cars go off there in some of these other series here today, and obviously it's going to be a full course yellow.
It's an off-camber turn, and we didn't pick it up really as he went into the corner under that bridge. This second yellow of the afternoon.
This is going to be very, very interesting because it's only lap 47. They can't stop now and make it.
Take forever. Got 10 more. Just stay in there.
He's very, very frustrated. He wants to get going, but obviously not happening very fast.
See, normally when they go off the first turn, it's on down the track somewhat, not right there. So under our second yellow of the afternoon, Scott Dixon's lead will evaporate. It had been over 5 seconds over Castor Nevitt, and now it's Franchitti, Manning, and Patrick.
Welcome back. So we're currently enduring the second yellow of this race from Mid-Ohio in the Honda 200. Let's just get the reaction of our guests to what happened there. Sam Hornish, obviously it was fairly straightforward, just lost it, Christopher, backwards into the tyre wall.
Yeah, that looked like but there's a lot of runoff there, and he seems to have scrubbed off quite a lot of speed, and though I suspect the wing post is actually damaged by the impact here, there are one or two optimists there at the track saying he may be repairable and back out again, but that's why the Penske team was shouting at him, stay in the car, don't get out. And that's probably the smart thing to have done, but hey, just one of those things.
Johnny, you look a bit doubtful about he might be able to carry on if there isn't much damage. I mean, would you think there probably is? It's full of dust and stones now, isn't it?
It's difficult. I mean, there's a big curb, actually, a really massive curb that separates pit lane exit from the apex of turn 1. Maybe he got up on that curb a little bit and it just spun him round. It was quite early. It looked like he'd lost it at the apex, and then the contact with the barriers is a little bit too hard for my comfort in terms of having maybe a suspension failure later on in the race if he were to carry on.
We are operating slightly in the dark because our colleagues haven't got the definitive pictures of what happened. By the way, let's just get your thoughts on pit strategy and what's going on in the race itself. Let's just move away from Sam Hornish. What do you make of what we've seen so far, Chris?
Well, interesting, wasn't it, that Darren Manning was running so strongly in third position early on, and they called him in early for the first round of stops. What we're seeing now is the second round of stops, with everybody really making use of the fact that there is a full course caution at the moment caused by the Hornish incident, but there's been a lot of overtaking in the pit lane there.
Yeah, John.
It looked like Castro Nevis. Did he get out in front of Scott Dixon?
I think he got out in front of Scott Dixon.
He did get out in front of Scott Dixon, so that's a good work by the Penske crew in the pits there, because Dixon had this, looked like it was sewn up, and then there's that yellow and it's all back on again.
Yeah, which is bad luck, because I mean Dixon's lead was stretched right out to 9-10 seconds. A lot of people have been going very fast further down the field, so this is a very important strategic moment, David, and I think there's still a lot to play for here.
It'll be interesting to see whether Tony Kanaan, because he was quite late, a lot later, whether he actually came in or whether he stayed out, and in which case
Kanaan
he'll be
has
right
not
up
come
there.
in. I'm hearing that Kanaan is the
Well,
only
he's been
car
lapping the quickest out of anybody out there, consistently 6-7 tenths quicker than everyone. I mean, if he hadn't had that incident in the first corner,
he could have been leading this race.
He would have been leading by a mile, looking at the pace of his car.
So how do you see the rest of this race for him? Because bearing that in mind,
he needs a yellow in about another 10 laps.
He does, doesn't he? And we've only had 2. We're halfway. Chris, what do you think? How's this going to shape up from here on?
Well, I mean, now it's really going to get interesting, because Kanaan is running now third on timing and scoring, and that's going to make him, as Johnny was just saying, completely out of sequence to everyone else. He's got to get that next stop right and take it at the right time. There's a lot of thinking going on in the Penske pit there. There is the boss himself, talking to his engineers, and they're all having a little think about strategy there.
They are. Just before we return to commentary, Johnny, your thoughts about Darren Manning, who's driving a brilliant race, isn't he?
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, the budget that team have got compared to everyone else, certainly like the likes of AGR and Penske, is minimal. The aero developments you can just see on the car. He hasn't got some of the aero mods that the Penske boys have got, and he's just driving his socks off to keep himself in contention in the top 5. He's doing a fantastic job.
So hats off to him.
Absolutely.
Kanaan was that Kanaan that went into the pits? I'm not sure.
He's only 5 or 6 laps later than them, so I would be surprised if he was going to pit. He should have pitted already. If you don't wait to get held up in the queue before you pit, and I think that's AJ, isn't it? And so I would just say for Kanaan here, I'm surprised he didn't pit, because he's not going to be able to go another 5 or 6, maybe 7 laps more without having to come in, and then maybe just trying to gain track position.
Who knows? Let's now cross back to Mid-Ohio once again for the second half of this Honda 200.
Now for the bonus points, Dixon has led 17 laps so far this afternoon. Castro-Neves has led 28. I want to hear from Tim Cindric from Penske's organization to see exactly what the strategy is, because you all heard what the captain told Hornish, but we don't know if Sam heard the captain, because despite being told to stay out several times, he made the pit stop of everybody else.
Yeah, well, the important thing that happened during those pit stops, of course, that Penske's guys beat Dixon back on the racetrack. Castro-Neves beat Dixon back on the racetrack. That's going to help rob him of those 3 bonus points, which is bad news for him, great news for Franchitti. But Patrick got back out in 7th position, so she kind of maintained her position. Darren Manning is in 6th. He's right behind Franchitti, so
Patrick was 5th going in, but of course with Tony and Scott not stopping, we're going back to green now as they complete lap 51. And your leader right there is Tony Kanaan. Scott Sharp rides in 2nd.
Wow, and Darren Manning was asleep on that thing. He was way behind, and therefore Danica and the rest of them were way behind here. She comes, going to make a move on him maybe.
Danica looks to the inside, going to the keyhole.
Yep, she made the pass.
She made the pass, so now she is up to 6th position simply because Darren Manning was asleep.
Wow, that was a good
terrible
move.
Restart.
Yeah, he might have gearbox trouble. Look at this. Got battled back there. Manning's got gearbox trouble. He's got some sort of problem.
Trying to go down and talk to Jack Arute and Tim Cindric. Jack?
Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to use all your tools. They used radio transmissions to try and throw a dummy. I know you were discussing not short pitting, and then all of a sudden you decide to short pit. Surprise, it worked.
Hey, we'll see. It's not over yet, but you know, this game's all about track position. Sometimes you got to roll the dice, and we'll see how it plays out here. It can go either way, but
how long can you go before you have to come back in?
I think we can go somewhere in the mid-70s still. So we're about 10 laps short from going to the end, so we'll see what happens.
Let's find out more about one of the guys that didn't pit with Vince Welch.
How much do you believe you're rolling the dice?
Not really bad. I like our position right now. We got one stop to go, so do the other guys behind us. Right now we're concentrating on just putting a gap between us and them. And so hopefully we can make our pit stop, our last pit stop's going to be longer than theirs. We just want to cover that time there. Hopefully it'll give us a win on the 7-11 car.
So they talked about the pit stop for Castroneves, but not about that Hornish situation.
Well, the Castroneves thing, what they were talking about there is he short pitted. He didn't take a full fuel load on, so he's going to have to come in a little bit before everybody else. That's how he got in front of Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon took on a full fuel load, so he can run another probably 3 or 4 laps farther than Castroneves can. And then when he comes in, he'll have to take on less fuel on the last one, so he'll have a short stop on the last one. So, you know, it's just strategy. Everybody's trying to win this race.
And right now, Scott Sharp is holding all these guys up.
Well,
Scott's riding in 2nd, but in the meantime, Tony Kanaan pulls out to a 5-second lead because these guys can't get around Sharp.
Well, and that's exactly what they were hoping would happen. And right now, Scott Sharp's helping them out. And you can see he's got them stacked up back there. Castroneves and Dixon right behind him. All of them working hard, trying to get around him, but he's running pretty quick, and nobody's can do anything with him right now. Let's see if Castroneves gets a run down this back straightaway. He's going to go to the inside.
He makes the pass, and here comes Scott Dixon.
Wow.
Oh, and he guts his way by.
Boy, that was a gutsy move. Now, that was a move that might end up being the best move of the race. Now
Franchitti gets by.
Well, Sharp moved out of the way for Franchitti, so it was very good move for Sharp to get out of their way, let them go. But that was a gutsy move by Dixon to be on the outside there and hang through that thing and stick his nose in there really when he wasn't sure whether Sharp was going to slam the door on him or not. And obviously he didn't, which was a good thing.
Now you ride with Danica. Danica back there in the 6th position.
And she's going to have to try to make a move on Sharp. And as he gets farther down the list, he's not going to be near as willing to move over and let people go around. The first 2 or 3 guys you might do that with. Everybody else, though, they're going to have to work a little harder. So we'll see if Danica can get a good run off this. This is the keyhole.
She couldn't pull him down there to the keyhole. Let's see what she can do off the keyhole.
She gets a good run off here. This is an important corner to get to the inside of him. She looks like she got a pretty good run. She's running quicker than he is. She's going to be able to get to the inside if he gives her room.
Yeah, she'll make the pass. Will she? Will she? Yeah.
Well, she got a great run. He saw her there. Good spotters let him know, and he let her go. Now then Manning is the one that's caught back there with Weldon and the rest trying to get around Scott Sharp, who's having a little bit of a problem.
With Weldon, that's Scott Sharp right in front of him. So Patrick has moved back to the top 5 now. She's in 5th position. But Kanaan's lead, as they were trying to get by Scott Sharp, went to over 6 seconds.
Well, that's exactly what they said they were trying to do, get a big enough lead so that when they have to make their last pit stop, that he'll have a big enough lead that he can stay in front of everybody.
That lead now is over 7 seconds.
it's still going to be difficult. You're going to have a lot more than a 7-second lead to take on a full fuel load, and everybody else is taking on just, maybe a third of a fuel load or less.
Looking for his third win of the year. He's victorious at Milwaukee and also at Touring Motegi over in Japan, the third race of the season. Right now he leads it. Catherine Evans, Dixon is third, Franchitti is fourth, and Danica Patrick is fifth. So three of the top five are Andretti Green cars, with the fourth Andretti Green car out of the race, Marco, after getting upside down on the initial start.
Well, Darren Manning seems to be back up to speed now. He really was slow in that restart. Got passed by 2 or 3 people. Well, not really 2 or 3. Got passed by Danica, but he was way behind the people in front of him on that restart. So I'm not sure what happened. You can see what a big lead that Kanaan enjoys right now. And he's running just about the same speed as everybody else. Maybe a little quicker than everybody else right now.
Well, O'Meara in the pits and is unbuckling, so his day is over.
Now remember, he crashed in qualifying yesterday. They put a new rear end and a new engine in that thing. Looks like they've got the engine cover off, and the side pod, so it might be electrical. It might be an electrical problem that's put him out.
Well, there's a gap between second and third. That's Catherine Evans in second. Third is Dixon. You're on board with Manning, who rides in 7th position. That's Scott Sharp in front of him.
These are the S's. He appears to be pretty quick through the S's.
Of course, Scott Sharp did not qualify all that well. In fact, Sharp started back in the 15th position. Manning qualified fairly well. He started in 8th.
It'll be interesting to see, because this is the part of the race where fatigue is going to start sitting in. They did have that yellow flag, but about lap 60, we're at 56 now, about lap 60 or 65 is where the driver's arms are going to start feeling like they're ready to fall off. You're gripping that wheel, you're turning, you're shifting, and it's really going to be hard on your forearms, and you're going to start to feel it just about right now.
So far, Catherine Evans has led 28 laps. Dixon has led some 17. And Kanaan now has led 8. As you go on board with Catherine Evans, who's riding in 2nd position. Up over turn 5. That's where the car gets very light and then slams back down into turn 6. Through the S's. This is what they call the Thunder Valley here at Mid-Ohio.
Manning has gotten by Scott Sharp and moved up a spot. There you can see Scott Sharp back behind him. So he finally got that run down through there and got by him, getting into turn number 4. And now then Sharp has Weldon and Hunter Ray right there behind him, trying to do the same thing that Manning just was able to pull off.
Still on board with Manning, who rides in the 6th position.
There you can see the distance from first back to second, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th running very close together. And Danica Patrick not that all far behind these guys.
She starts to close in on her teammate Dario Franchitti. So she obviously in that first lap skirmish lost a number of position, dropped back to 9th, and through efforts in the racetrack in the pit lane has herself back up to 5th position.
She's just got to run a nice, smooth race from here on out. Doesn't look like she's got enough to win this race, but she could certainly finish on the podium with any kind of a break at all.
Right now, Danica some 13 seconds behind your leader, her teammate Tony Kanaan. And of course, it was Kanaan's contact with her that got him into the other teammate, Marco, and put Marco upside down at the start of this race, but Marco's okay.
Well, we're going to see Kanaan pitting here in about 2 to 3 more laps. He can't run many more than about 2 or 3 more laps on this fuel load. He will have to take on pretty much, not a full fuel load, but pretty much a full fuel load. He'll have to take
on a longer stop.
Yeah, which will mean a longer stop. Everybody else is going to take on a light load, maybe a 3-second, 4-second stop for fuel only. He's going to have to make probably an 8-second stop, so he's going to lose 5 or 6 seconds, but he's got a 7-second lead. That's not where you lose most of your time. Where you lose your time is entering and exiting the pits. Look at Sam Hornish. He's going to the outside. He's really pushing himself now as he's caught up with that whole group of cars that's led by Scott Sharp.
Well, I'm still surprised why he didn't stay out. We'll have to find out, I guess, when the race is over what transpired there, because he's racy, but he's back there in 14th position.
Okay, 10-4, full load of fuel, 4 tires.
Well, the leader now heads for pit lane, as you had anticipated, Larry.
Yeah, we'll see how long this pit stop is. They'll probably put on tires and fuel, and as soon as the tires are on, they'll probably pull the fuel hose and go. Nope, they had to have more fuel than that. They took on almost a whole load of fuel. So he's going to get back out behind Manning. Now remember, all these drivers in front of him still must make a quick stop. So that might have been a very smart move. Weldon came in early. He's going to take on his fuel. He didn't even change tires. He just...
Clear.
It's a timed stop to take on fuel. Now he did that in case there's a yellow and everybody comes in under the yellow, he'll be in front of them. So it was a wise move on their part because he was back there mired behind Scott Sharp and couldn't get around him.
So Castroneves reassumes the lead for the second time this afternoon. He led the first 28 laps of this race before the pit stop. So Dixon rides in second, Franchitti is third, Patrick is fourth, and Darren Manning up to the top 5.
And look at Scott Dixon. He's back up there putting the pressure on now as he's right behind Castroneves. The final pit stop is going to be crucial. But what these drivers don't want to see now is the yellow flag, because they would all have to come in under the yellow and they would all be behind Kanaan and Weldon because they could stay out and finish the race. So they definitely do not want to see another yellow in this race.
Right now, Castroneves setting himself up. Here's Hornish. Now this,
well, he's going to short fuel. He's got a full fuel load, so he's going to short fuel, get back out there, and he is hoping for a yellow. Now, if he hits a yellow, he'll be up. Well,
he's still a lap back.
No, he's still a lap back, though. You're right.
He's still a lap off the pace.
And those other two guys will be in front of him, so he won't get to go around to the back. So you're right. I'm not sure.
Pit strategy is not going to work out for him this afternoon. Had he stayed out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm still a little puzzled by that myself, but anyway.
Well, Castroneves continues to lead, which means he's going to take away those 3 bonus points from the opportunity for Dixon to get those. Now, Dixon is in front of Franchitti right now. He would only pick up, if they finished in this order, he'd only pick up 5 points in the championship.
Well, 5 points is better than no points, and I'm sure that
losing 5 points.
Yeah, that's right, and I'm sure that Franchitti is just thinking the opposite. Man, I'm going to lose 5 points here. What I got to do to get around him? So there's going to be a lot of strategy on this final pit stop. How much fuel you take in, how long you're in there, who knows? Do you take a chance on running out? I don't think so, especially if you're Dixon or Franchitti. You've got to be sure you take on enough fuel. Whatever your time stop says, you've got to be able to, you've got to know what your fuel mileage is, you've got to know how much you have to take and how long it's going to take to get it in there. They know exactly how many liters of fuel flow per second. They know how many seconds of fuel they have to get in there in order to make the final 10 laps or whatever. But most of them, most of these guys, these drivers can make it to about lap 75 before they have to stop. So they might come in before that, but I think they can actually make it to about 75 with only 10 laps to go.
If a yellow comes out, then all bets are off.
All bets are off. Everything changes because Kanaan and Weldon do not have to stop again, I don't think.
You can see he's led 30 of 62 laps so far today. It's going to make it difficult for, Dixon will not be able to get those 3 bonus points as he has the last couple of weeks, even if he wins this thing.
Yeah, these first 3 drivers, if there are no yellows, the race is going to be between them. Danica's back about 6 seconds. It'd be very difficult for her to make that kind of time up in the pits. So looks like the contest is between these 3 as long as there's not a yellow. But if the yellow comes out, then all of a sudden Kanaan and Weldon are looking like 2 really smart guys who came in early.
And then you got the restart to consider.
Yeah.
Who gets the good restart?
So all sorts of things could happen.
he has to get around Castro-Neves.
Yeah, meanwhile, Kanaan trying to get around Manning because he's losing time every lap to the leaders because Manning is not running as fast as the leaders. When he was out front, he was running as fast as the leaders. Now then, every lap around, he's losing maybe a second or so. So he's back. He's lost 2 seconds in the last 2 laps almost. So that's not a good thing.
There's Super Tex. There's A.J. Foyt, the owner of Darren Manning's number 14. Of course, A.J. celebrating and has been celebrated throughout the season. His 50th season in IndyCar racing.
Yeah, and he's I think he's having a good time on this season. He's pretty happy with Manning. He's very happy with Manning, as a matter of fact. Manning has done a good job for him. He's put him back up in the top 5 again on a couple of occasions, which hasn't happened for a while, on ovals and road courses.
Well, of course, back in 99, 2000, when Kenny Breck won those 3 in a row, he was driving for A.J. Foyt.
Yeah. So he was back up where he wants to be, at least running with the top guys, which is, really what he wants to do. It was a little embarrassing for him there for a couple of years when they were running in the back of the pack. He didn't like it much at all. And he made some changes, put his son back in as the team manager and so forth to try to get them back on top, and they're getting closer to that with every race.
So we're working on lap 68. The lead now just a half second between Castro-Neves and Dixon. Franchitti rides in 3rd. Danica Patrick is 4th, and Darren Manning rounds out the top 5. So Castro-Neves will pick up the 3 bonus points, but for him, he is really out of the title chase. Had some crashes this season, some miscues, but right now the battle is really between Scott Dixon, who rides in 2nd, and Franchitti in 3rd for that championship. Right now, the battle for the race may rest in this guy's hands right now, Tony Kanaan, who rides back there in 6th position.
The best thing that can happen for Dixon and Castro-Neves is to have Manning keep holding up Tony Kanaan. He's lost a second a lap here for the last several laps. He's now back about 18 seconds behind the leaders. So if they keep going for another 10 laps, and he loses another 10 seconds before they make their pit stop, then they're going to be in a much better position to maintain that 1st and 2nd spot on the racetrack.
But at what point does Kanaan lose his patience and stick his nose in there?
Well, that's something we don't really know, and so we'll just have to.
He's 19 seconds behind right now. You're right. He's losing a second lap.
Right. When we first started following it, he was only like 15 seconds back, and every lap he's lost more ground. Of course, his car's a little heavier. He's got more of a fuel load, so his car's not handling quite as well. So it may not all be that Manning is holding him up, but I think that's certainly part of it. Although he hasn't been up there and challenged Manning the last several laps either. He hasn't really made a run on him.
Well, that's that gap back to Kanaan. Now you're right along with Danica, who is in 4th position. Danica is some 10 seconds behind Castro-Neves, so she's in 4th, but a big gap between 1st and 4th. Scott Dixon still only a half second behind Castro-Neves. Franchitti finds himself almost 2 seconds behind the leaders. They work lap number 70 of the Schedule 85. So there you take a look at the top 5 as we come to you live from Mid-Ohio. Castro-Neves has led the most laps here this afternoon. But right now, with pit stops coming up, Tony Kanaan may be the guy.
Yeah.
Patrick has her crew setting up. Castro-Neves has the Penske team setting up for his final stop, and you're saying fuel only.
I think it's going to be fuel only. We'll see. They still have, they still got 15 laps to go, so they may change tires, but I would think that they would probably only take fuel only and be a time stop.
Here comes Castro-Neves.
Castro-Neves, remember, he has to stop.
All right, hit your mark. No tires, Elio. No tires, guys.
You were right on that one, Larry.
Reset your fuel. Watch Rick here. Be quick.
There's a time stop. Remember, he took a short fuel load last time so he could get back in front of Dixon. Danica's in. She is taking tires.
getting up to speed. Up to all clear out of the last corner at the moment. Get it up to speed.
They're reminding her now. That's one of her problems. She's not been real fast on her in laps and her out laps, so they're pushing her a little harder to get in and out really, really good. So it looks like Castroneves did beat Manning and Kanaan out, which would mean that it's going to make it very tough on Tony Kanaan.
Well, right now, Scott Dixon leads this thing over Franchitti. Should they finish that way, it would be 10 points that Dixon would gain on Franchitti.
Oh, there goes Dixon.
There's Dixon.
This also will be a time stop. Best stopwatch wins.
Okay, right on the board. Right on the board. It's going to be just fuel. Square in, straight in.
Good stop. Here comes Castroneves. It looks like he's going to beat him out. They took on less fuel. Looks like they took on less fuel. That was a much quicker stop than Castroneves had. Castroneves short-fueled last time, so he had to take on more fuel. So Dixon, right now, he's in the catbird seat. The crew did a terrific job. They had great planning. Kanaan actually did a tremendous job. He got in and out. He did what he had to do. He just wasn't quite close enough. Didn't get a big enough lead when he went in order to maintain that lead. Franchitti's going to be coming in shortly. See, he's being held up now. It looks like a little bit, and I think that's the reason Dixon came in, because he knew he was being held up and he didn't want to lose any more track time. No, he stayed on the racetrack. Franchitti's going to try to stay out there, build up as big a lead as he can, then make as short a stop as possible, as he's going to have to come in, I would think, by we're on lap 71 now. He's probably going to have to come in by, I don't know, 75, I would think, at least. 2 more laps, maybe 3 at the most.
Well, Franchitti's lead over Dixon now is 15.2 seconds and 17.5 over Castroneves. So how quickly can he come in and make that pit stop?
Well, that's what they're betting on. They want to stay out there with a lighter fuel load, try to gain as much time as they can on those guys behind him. The only thing what really hurt him, though, is he got behind that lap car. He lost a little bit of time while he's behind the lap car. I think that's why Dixon's crew decided to bring him in, because he was being held up a little bit, and they thought it wasn't worth it. He should get in right then and get his tires or his fuel.
The last stop for Franchitti was lap 49. He's about to complete lap 73. And does he stay out? Yes.
Stays out. They're gonna milk it now. They're the last ones to stop, so he's gonna stay out as long as he can, try to build up the lead as much as he can, so that when he comes in, he has to stay in only for a couple of seconds of fuel and then back on the course.
Well, let's get an interval now between first and second. It had been 15 seconds. It's now 15.3, so it's stayed status quo, although Castroneves lost another second. So right now there's 15.3 seconds between first and second, and 18.3 between first and third.
Well, if Franchitti were not in the points race, he could maybe gamble and take on a little less fuel the next time he comes in so he could stay in the lead. But because of the point situation, I don't see how he can possibly gamble. They got to make sure they get enough fuel in that thing to make it to the end. So he's going to at least cost him a second right there to make sure he's got enough fuel in, I would think.
Well, there are 10 points between first and second, and there are 5 points between second and third. His points break down.
Stayed out again, so I'm guessing he's only got maybe 1 lap to go, maybe 2, before he's going to have to come in and make that pit stop.
Let's see if he gained anything on that last lap. It was 15.3, the margin between first and second. And now it's 15.6, so he picked up 0.3 of a second.
See, and that's what they're counting on by staying out there a little longer now. They're counting on the fact that they can gain ever so slightly because of the lighter fuel load, and if they can pull it off far enough and stop quick enough, they can get back out. But boy, who knows? This time, at this point anyway, there will be no tires.
He is at the end of the pit lane as well.
Yep.
So he's the first pit before he hits the exit.
Yeah, you saw the Truman laying on the tire, but he's not going to take any tires on. He's just going to come in. I'd be surprised if he's in the second and actually stopped in his pit box for more than about 3 seconds.
All right, he's coming in this time. He's going to stay out, try to stretch that lead more. He stays out. He'll complete lap 75, 10 laps to go. It was 15.8 the last time. Let's see what the gap is now. But now he's going to come in behind. Is that the Sharp car? Yep, that's Sharp. He does not want to get held up by Sharp. Now Sharp is well back. He's in 12th position.
Well, Danica lost some ground on that pit stop.
And he's gained another 0.3 of a second. So right now, Franchitti is gaining 0.3 of a second with each lap. Yeah, but now he could lose that right here when he gets behind Sharp.
Well, yeah, and he's going to have to stop in the next lap or two. I mean, the fuel's only going to go so far. You want to stretch it so far.
There's your look at your laps led today. So the bonus points will go to Castroneves. So that will not play out in your point standings. So very interesting scenario here as a lot of suspense building up, because this final pit stop by Franchitti is going to be extremely crucial, and it's going to tell. I think he'll come in now, Larry, because he's being held up by Sharp.
Well, yep, here he comes.
There he is. There he is. Okay, now here's that right, then a left.
Okay, you got a clear run in. Clear run in. Do you want the front wing? No, we're good. We're good.
All right, he crosses the line, so he will have led that lap because he crossed the start-finish line in the pit lane.
Critical.
Be fuel only. Enough fuel. 8 seconds. And there goes Dixon.
Is he going to get out? He's going to get out in front of Castroneves, though. Stellar day as he's, I'm sure he's scratching his head a little bit as to why he can be, off by 2 or 3/10 of a second as his teammates out there just mopping up the floor with everybody.
And while we've been watching this, Scott Dixon has added to his lead. Franchitti came out of the pits 2.4 seconds back. Now it's 2.6.
Yeah, and he's, I'm sure he's running a fast pace, but not 10/10 right now. As long as he's in front of those guys, he's running at 9.5 maybe.
Now here's your lead. You're looking right now at clear track in front of Scott Dixon. He goes for his 3rd straight win on his 22nd birthday, and he'll complete lap 79. 6 laps to go. Now there appeared to be a car entering turn 1 as he crossed the finish line.
Well,
let's see what's in front of him from this shot.
We've seen too many weird things happen in this series. We saw Castroneves leading at Milwaukee. It looked like an absolute deadlock win for him, and the wing collapsed with about 20 laps to go, and he was way ahead of everybody else. So
it's a clear track. This is a good onboard camera shot. You see a car well up there, but it won't take long for Scott Dixon to catch him. And that looks like that could be Sarah.
Well, you can bet that the spotters are on this. They're telling
her or him to get out of the way, right. Whoever that is.
Whoever it is, telling them that they need to expect him up there in the next lap or so. And for the most part, the drivers are pretty courteous. When they're a couple of laps down, and it's the leaders that are coming up on them. Now, if you're somebody that's back in 8th, 9th, or 10th, they may not be so courteous, but they certainly don't want to play a part in causing somebody to lose a race.
That's one of the vision cars. That could be Carpenter. No, it's not Carpenter because that's not the green one.
Well, you can see right now that Scott Dixon just motoring along. He's just doing everything right at this point. And you're right, he just keeps building that lead ever so slightly as they go along. It looks like Foyt that's right in front of him.
That's Foyt. Well, and the lead right now is 2.8 seconds. Less than 5 laps to go. Can he make it 3 in a row? It hasn't been done for a few seasons. It's tough enough to win 1, let alone 2, and then 3 in a row on totally different kinds of racetracks. Because even though this is a road course, this is nothing like Watkins Glen. And in between, he had Nashville, which is a horse of a different color with that concrete surface.
One thing you can say for Scott Dixon is he is in great physical condition. I mean, there's no question about it, because Nashville was a very physical track in a completely different way. But for him to run this strong on all these different kind of tracks, you have to be in great condition. You got to think all these guys up front are. And
there's Mike Hall, the strategist for Scott Dixon.
And you have to even think, like Danica Patrick, there was some question about her. Was her arm strength enough to do a racetrack like this? We know she's got great cardio, she runs a lot, but was her physical arm strength enough to run a racetrack like this? She's running fifth.
More from the Premier League than ever before.
Welcome back to the closing stages, the final laps, just 2 to go in this terrific race, the Honda 200 from the Mid-Ohio course. Nothing's happened while you've been away that's really changed the order. Scott Dixon still leads. Let's cross back now to see what happens.
The white flag will fly this time by as Scott Dixon tries to drive into the record book to join Weldon. There's his fiancée to join Weldon and Kenny Brack as the only drivers to win 3 in a row.
You can see that smile starting to creep onto her face, even though he's got a lap to go.
You want to see a smile? Shoot his dad.
Yeah. Well, right now, Scott Dixon taking the white flag, 1 lap car in front of him and 1 between himself and Dario Franchitti. Now, if you're Dario Franchitti, you've got to be wondering, geez, what do I have to do? I run second and I still lose points to this guy. What the heck is going on
After
here?
this race, only 24 points between first and second with 5 races to go, including 2 road circuits, Belle Isle and Infineon. And the ovals will be Michigan, Kentucky, and Chicagoland.
And 3 races ago, we thought, well, Dario Franchitti's almost got this thing wrapped. He's 60 points ahead, not that many races to go. How's he going to get beat? Well, he's going to get beat if you go out and win every race, and that's what Scott Dixon's done.
He's going to lose 41 points in 3 races. 41 points in 3 races, and Scott, a former champion with the Indy Car Series.
And remember when they had the Toyota engines, he won with one, but they struggled, and everybody's saying, geez, Scott Dixon, I don't know, he's not doing very well. Well, obviously it wasn't Scott Dixon.
There it is, Larry. Dual checkered flags off the final corner. And Scott Dixon has done it. Won 3 in a row.
Segment today, Scott. Good job, man.
Fantastic job, Bobby. Fantastic.
Wow.
There's Mike Hall. We'll hear from him with Vince Welsh.
Mike Hall just took a big sigh of relief and shook his head. Why so tense during this race today?
Well, because of what happened. Mid-Ohio historically has always been a race like what you guys got to see on television today. It's all about track position. It's, you know, that's what makes it so difficult. And you saw guys, as soon as they got to that magic number, they came. And so your driver has to drive always to a number for that last segment. And I don't know, you could have a better guy than Scott Dixon driving that last segment, knowing what he has to do.
A better driver nor a better crew, because they were on their money today on the other side of the pit wall.
Well, of course, he drives into the record books, his 3rd straight victory as he takes the win and 10 points in the championship battle over Dario Franchitti. Franchitti unofficially goes to 2nd, Castronevic 3rd, Kanaan 4th as we ride along on that victory lap. And he still has enough energy to get that arm up in the air.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. Still got enough energy to hold his hand in the air and wave at the crowd, so he must not be too tired.
He's not going to be as tired as the guy that finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
So there we go. Congratulations to Scott Dixon. Confirmation of that victory ahead of Dario Franchitti. Pretty close, exciting finish to that race. Elio Castroneves in third. He was the pole man, remember. Danica Patrick, despite being on the front row, pushed down to fifth. But overall, a fascinating race. Let's just get the reaction of my two studio guests. Chris Tate, what did you make of that?
Well, first of all, the thing we have to observe is it is difficult to overtake on this course, and you could see a lot of the result was affected by people's ability to work or not work their way through traffic. But great run for Scott Dixon, good job. But
and the strategy was spot on, wasn't it?
Yep, yes it was. We thought for a time that Canaan's crew had really got the strategy right, but in the end it just didn't quite break right for him. He got held up on what should have been his quick lap and so on. So it didn't quite work. Fascinating race, very, very, very tactical, all up there this weekend.
Yeah, and Johnny, what did you make of that? Because I know we were saying early on, Tony Kanaan should have maybe led by some distance earlier on. Well, in the end, Dario was really pushing hard.
Well, I think Elio Castroneves had a very long fuel stop for some reason, and that totally messed it up for him. And then Kanaan was stuck behind Darren Manning, who did a phenomenal job, we must say, to finish sixth. But Kanaan was probably losing a good half a second, 3/4 of a second for maybe 15 laps, and that's what did it in for him as well. So it could have gone either way between the top four, really, but a great race and good for the championship.
And Scott Dixon, you have to say this hat-trick now is terrific. Only two other drivers have done it, and really, I mean, it's a fantastic time to notch up win number 3. He's in great shape, isn't he, looking at the rest of the season?
Absolutely, he's on a roll, and it's exactly what he needs towards the rest of the team. But there's a long way to go. The way the point system works, it only needs one mechanical failure or a crash on an oval for him or Dario, and suddenly Kanaan and Weldon are back in it.
Yeah, and Chris, I mean, he is in terrific form. The team look pretty good. The car looks great, doesn't it? Tactics spot on today.
Yes, but then no problem really for Dario either. You know, the fact of the matter is that the lead of the championship's been cut back a little bit, but not by that much. And I think there's still, as Johnny's saying, there's a long way to go. My money's still on Franchitti for the championship.
Really, but Scott Dixon for the moment, he's the man enjoying the adulation of the crowd and all the applause, and quite rightly so. Terrific race, brilliant tactics, and well done to him. 3 races consecutively now, the New Zealander showing really good form, and as the boys have just said, it's building up to a terrific finish to the season. 5 more races still to come, and Scott Dixon, well done to him. It's been brilliant stuff. So we let him cool down after what's been a pretty hot and very fast and furious race. And that is, I'm afraid, just about it for this weekend as we see him enjoying those closing moments. IndyCar is back again in 2 weeks' time, so make sure you join us on Sunday, August the 5th for the Firestone Indy 400 from the Michigan International Speedway at 5 o'clock on Sky Sports Extra. And all that's now left for me to do is to thank my two guests here in the studio, Christopher Tate and Johnny Modem. Particular good luck to Johnny in his next race, Spa 1000k in 3 weeks' time. Good luck to you for that. Congratulations, of course, to our winner, Scott Dixon of the Honda 200. We're going to leave you right now with some highlights from the classic Mid-Ohio course. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
More sport, news and views at skysports.com.